Once again, I'm not going to pull any punches. This is Eric Sanders, who's my attorney, happens to also be Lieutenant Epps' attorney, and now he's representing this gentleman. Handcuffed and punched, NYPD officers face legal action after fracturing Bronx man's jaw and brutal false arrest. February 1st, 2025, the Sanders firm has filed a formal legal complaint against the New York City Police Department on behalf of Jalen Ryan, a 21-year-old Bronx resident who was falsely arrested, physically assaulted, and subjected to racial profiling by NYPD officers on December 28, 2024. The legal claim filed with the New York City Comptroller's Office seeks compensatory punitive damages for false arrest, excessive force, racial discrimination, failure to intervene, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Approximately 12:25 a.m. on December 28, 2024, Mr. Ryan stood lawfully next to his mother's 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLS SUV near 187th Street, near 187 East 188th Street in the Bronx, ensuring that a female friend, Caroline Martinez, entered her apartment safely. The area is known for high crime rates, and Mr. Ryan was exercising reasonable caution. Without provocation or reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, a group of uniformed NYPD officers aggressively approached Mr. Ryan and demanded identification. Before this incident, Mr. Ryan had never been arrested, had no criminal record, making the officers' actions even more egregious and unjustified. When Mr. Ryan inquired why he was being stopped, the situation quickly escalated into an unjustified use of force. According to the legal claim, multiple officers grabbed Mr. Ryan, threw him violently against his vehicle, and forcibly handcuffed him without explanation while Mr. Ryan was already restrained. Police officer Joel K. Ayala, shield number 4081, tax registry number 954509, delivered a closed fist punch to the right side of Mr. Ryan's face, causing significant pain and trauma. Mr. Ryan was transported in Sergeant Mahone's vehicle to the 46th precinct, where officers fabricated a disorderly conduct charge. During transport, Mahone allegedly taunted Mr. Ryan, stating, "This is what happens if you do not give the police what they ask for. You'll get punched in the face." Explicit racial profiling and retaliatory ticketing. Upon arrival at the 46th precinct, Mr. Ryan repeatedly requested medical assistance, complaining of pain and dizziness from the punch. Officers delayed treatment and actively discouraged emergency medical technicians, EMTs, from evaluating him properly, further exasperating the harm. When Mr. Ryan's mother, Nazima Royster, arrived at the precinct, she confronted Sergeant Mahone about her son's injuries. Mahone allegedly responded, "When you do not follow protocol, this is what happens. You get punched in your face." In a stunning admission of racial bias, Mahone further justified the officer's actions by stating, "He's a black kid driving a Mercedes-Benz and the windows are all tinted. Vehicles like that, police, search for drugs and guns." After spending several hours in police custody, Mr. Ryan was released with 3 summonses, including disorderly conduct, issued without probable cause; double parking violation, issued after the arrest; parking near a fire hydrant, issued after the arrest. These tickets issued after the incident appear to be retaliatory and an attempt to justify an otherwise unlawful arrest. On January 16, 2025, upon review by a Bronx criminal court judge, the disorderly conduct charge was immediately dismissed. And it's right here on the screen. And notice here, in the story here, it says, at TPO, defendant refused lawful order to provide driver's license. Defendant stated he had a license but was not going to present it to officers. That is a very sad story to put in there. That's the Ryan summons. The dismissal is right here. There's a record of it right here from the court. They dismissed this immediately. So that's a whole nother story with this. So this article continues. Pattern of NYPD misconduct and similar cases of civil rights violations. The NYPD has a long documented history of excessive force, racial profiling, unconstitutional policing, particularly in communities of color. Mr. Ryan's case is not an isolated incident, but rather part of a systemic problem that has resulted in wrongful deaths, excessive force incidents, and legal settlements costing taxpayers millions of dollars. So, Marlon, what do you think about reading all of that and seeing that?
Yeah. I was saying there's a lot of issues that underline this incident, right? The first thing is tunnel vision. John talks, now I was never a supervisor, right? But I can tell you from the other side as a cop who's gotten tunnel vision before in incidents, that this is why you need a good boss next to you who should kind of separate himself from what you're doing. Let you be the cop and he be the boss. the reason I say this is because as a cop, especially as an active cop, you get in this mind frame when it's on, it's like hard to turn off until that guy's in cuffs. You know what I mean? So you need a boss who's there, who's going to be ready to pull you out of your tunnel vision if you're going too far, right? John always says that you need a boss to protect you from yourself. And this is where that comes in. By protecting you from yourself, meaning he's there to pull you out of your tunnel vision if you get to a point where you might be crossing, you might be ready to cross that line, The other issue here, and I made a tweet about it, right? I said yesterday that looking at the bigger picture, right, incidents like this are usually the byproduct of command level pressure cascading from 1 PP down to the precincts and down to the specific units. And the pressure is to beat your prior numbers or to exceed them. Oh, well, to exceed them or at least match them, right? Now, this pressure is often faced by a lot of active and high performance, like violence suppression units, If you're at FIO, there's constant pressure to beat your last year's search warrant number, If you're in one of these gun units, there's constant pressure to get more guns than last year. Same thing for narco. Everybody has pressure, and that pressure comes on down and floats to you. And one of the problems is that in a case like this, you have pressure coming from the top, and that young man has pressure coming from the media and the progressive media and its associates, which include some of these wacky politicians we have in the New York City and New York State and other progressive states, right? That pressure is to assume to be confrontational with every police encounter, right? And that needlessly escalates the situation. And that often escalates into the situation going sideways, right? And now there might be things missing that we don't know yet, but we know for a fact that a summons was involved and that the plaintiff was injured here, right? So my question was also in that tweet, why, if you have to punch somebody in the face, they're going through. Otherwise, why did you punch them in the face? Why did you use force at that level, right? If they're not in cuffs, right? So there's a lot of issues playing here. And, one more thing. In the prior segment, we talked about how the different roles in law enforcement, the different people at the top have to do their job. Well, in this case, that problem trickles down to the bottom too, on the street. And supervisors, you got to do your job too. You got to do your job, which is to protect the cops from themselves, pull them out of situations, and to prevent that situation. Your main job, right, is to prevent that situation from going sideways, right? And now I think this is hard sometimes for a lot of cops who are active cops and now they become supervisors, because in their heads, they still want to get out there and they still want to be, the guy that slaps his cuffs on a perp. But the problem is you're the boss now, and you're going to still have a chance to do that. But your priority should be to make sure your guys don't get lost in that, as they're trying to slap cuffs on the perp, So to be ready to like, whoa, step back, let's, put some other guy to deal with the perp, or you talk to the perp. But basically, you have to protect cops from themselves sometimes, like John said. So that's what I'm thinking happened here. And like I said, I'm sure more is going to come out. But we talked that we talk about how everything is related here, right? And you dig through this and you can see how the threads eventually merge with this and it creates a stew that leads to bad incidents, And unless we stop this, more incidents like this are going to come because that pressure is coming from multiple places and it collides. And the results are incidents that go sideways, and it's no good for everybody. It's not good for us. Not good for the communities. That's what I'm thinking about this one now.
So I'm thinking about the quality of life, Chief, that's coming out now, because that's going to put a ton of pressure on the So actually, I want to go back before I put the 58 up for you to see. First of all, if you detain somebody, you do strike them in the face. That's going to be that field force report. We don't know if that was done. An ambulance must be called for somebody who's got punched in the face. I believe he broke his jaw. And you don't issue summonses after the arrest and another summons that you issued. So at this point, right here, you already have, and the supervisor on the desk that allowed all of this is another issue. So again, the desk officer's on the hook. This sergeant's definitely on the hook more than anyone else. And the cop and whoever else was there that should have intervened, because you don't issue a summons for this. You can't take someone to the precinct and issue. Those days are over. I don't know if you actually read the patrol guide. You can't do that. So what was done here is you're already lost. You're behind an 8 ball. But then the continuation of, well, you're in the cell. So what we're going to do is you're under arrest, but you're not under arrest because we're just going to give you a summons. And then after a fact, give you a couple other summonses. That stuff doesn't fly anymore. That may have been like 20 years ago, maybe in our day when we first started, but that stuff stopped. So when you make an arrest, those things you're saying he did have to be charges on an online booking sheet. Also, there should have been what's that when they make the arrest and then they void it? A voided arrest.
Yes.
Because you issued a summons instead of putting them through the system. And I'm almost positive that wasn't done here because we know how precincts operate. So there's a ton of protocols that were not taken here. And this is a huge miscarriage of justice. And I would love to see this body camera and exactly what was being said, not only between the sergeant and the officer, but what was said between the sergeant and the defendant, and also the others, the police officer and the defendant, and them with each other. What was said there? Because this stinks. You just watched the latest clip from the Sal Greco show. If you want to watch the full episode, click the link below. And while you're at it, please hit the like, share, subscribe button. And don't forget to click the notification button also.